to that place music let you find. Forget all your trouble, unburden your mind. Along the way, I found Coltrane and Mary Armadale and Dr. Mulatu. Guide me in what I do. They all have a place at my table with me, singing Ethio jazz in 2017. I wanna sing for them all. 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 Leonard Cohen taught me words are your currency, and Molukan's legacy was written in melody. They all have a place at my table with me, singing Ethio jazz in 2017. I wanna sing for them all. 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 I wanna sing for them all.
And yes, here we are, Espresso Sesh with Bob Duskis. Welcome, Bob.
Thanks for having me.
Best frequencies forever. We are here live from San Francisco Mission District, BFF studio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You got me on the mic here? Okay.
Yes, I got you on the mic.
I'm doing great. I love this place. This is a super cool little studio you got going on here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you here. So, Bob Duskis, co-founder, president of 6 Degrees Records, in the business for 20 years. This is the 20th.
It is the 20th anniversary of the label, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you look great for being 20 years in the music business.
Thank you, man.
You know,
I
it's
appreciate it.
it's art to resist, make it happen like long
Yeah,
time.
it's been a crazy road. I mean, you can imagine how much the business has changed since we started. And before we started 6 Degrees, my biz partner Pat Berry and I worked at another label. We worked at Wyndham Hill Records, which was based in Palo Alto. And just in the time we've been in the business, it's just tectonic changes, gigantic. Mostly not for the better,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But what are you going to do? You gotta roll with it and keep doing what you do and put out good music, and that's what we've been doing. Hopefully.
Yeah, you guys have a nice catalog that you guys were famous before for the world electronica sound, but also you have like a nice rooster of singer-songwriter, and you explore beside the world electronic, but also more traditional sound.
Yeah, we never considered ourselves a world music label. We always considered ourselves a label that put out eclectic music from around the world. And I think that's a good distinction. There's all these stereotypes that go along when people think of world music, what it is. But we definitely have a global perspective, and we're open to all kinds of whatever excites us, whatever we think is a little bit different and should be exposed and get out there. Yeah, 20 years of doing that, and we're still here, so I'm kind of proud.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of proud. And you guys have nice releases. We just played McLeod. She's a local favorite.
Yeah, McLeod lives in the East Bay now. She's originally from Ethiopia. She came over to the States, I think, when she was like 8 years old, when she was pretty young, and lived in different parts of America with her family. And then she went to school in Yale, and she made her way to the Bay Area and just kind of found music and got involved in a place that's still here, not that far from here, the Red Poppy.
Yeah, yeah.
And she started playing there, and eventually I think became one of the people running the place, or at least running the musical end of the place, and found her voice, which is this really interesting, mix of singer-songwriter with a lot of love for jazz, and of course, her roots from Ethiopia. And this is the album. It's a brand new record. It's called When the People Move, the Music Moves Too. And this is the record where she really just kind of synthesized all of these different parts of what she does and really brought out the Ethiopian flavor in her music. And obviously I'm biased. We put the record out, but I think it's kind of a masterpiece, and I don't think anybody else has done anything really like it. So
Let's show it this record.
Yeah. Go out, run out and buy 50 copies each.
50 copies each.
And it's produced by this guy Dan Wilson, who is kind of a hotshot in the business. He started in a very successful rock band called Semisonic. They had this giant hit with a song called Closing Time. And then,
Closing Time.
Yeah, it was a big, like an anthem.
Yeah, actually.
But then when the band broke up, he went on to become like the co-writer of choice for giant artists like Adele and Taylor Swift and the Dixie Chicks and lots of different people. And then he and McLeod met. They were both TED fellows, about the TED organization.
Yeah, TED,
And they just kind of met and bonded as part of TED. And one day McLeod kind of got up the nerve and said, "Hey, you want to try and write some songs together? Want to collaborate on some things?" And it turned from, "Oh, well, maybe I can produce a few tunes on the record," to, "Oh, yeah, I'll produce your record." And that's the result. And he brought in amazing people. The Preservation Hall horns are on the record. And on the song we just heard, Andrew Bird, who's a great singer-songwriter himself, plays violin. He's a killer violin player. And he also whistles on it. If you can't tell what that high-pitched, cool sound is, especially towards the end of the track, Andrew Bird is like a virtuoso whistler, and he's doing it on that tune. So
yeah, actually, I saw Andrew Bird performing.
So you've seen him whistle?
Yeah, I've seen him whistle. He's playing violin. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
he's singing for sure.
So.
Cool. So in this road, like lifetime, almost long experience, like adventure. Let's call it adventure with 6 Degrees. How it started.
How did it start? Well, I've always been a music just freak. I have a brother who's 7 years older than me who was into, great sort of challenging experimental music. And when he went away to college, he left behind a bunch of records that just kind of blew my mind. Early Frank Zappa, Mother's Invention stuff, King Crimson, John Cale, Terry Riley, stuff that I was still in high school, and I was kind of half afraid of them and half fascinated by them, but they totally opened my mind to really, really adventurous music at an early age. And then my high school, I grew up in New York on Long Island at a place called Syosset, had a radio station, kind of like this, that when I got to high school, I went down there and I immediately got involved and eventually became the station manager and found my tribe, found my people, music people and radio people. And I decided I really wanted to go into radio. That's what I wanted to do with my life. And that's back when radio was still in the glory days of freeform radio, FM radio, where you could play whatever you want and be adventurous and be creative. And I went to college in Madison, Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin. And when I was a senior, I started volunteering at the big rock station there, WIBA FM. And then they let me fill in on the weekends. And then when I graduated, my boss came up to me and said, if you want a job, the late nights are open. So literally the week after I graduated college, I got a job working 11 at night to 5 in the morning on a freeform rock radio station playing whatever the hell I wanted. And it was amazing. I couldn't believe they were paying me. I would have paid them, honestly.
For doing that,
yeah. And then that came crashing to an end when the days of formatted commercial radio started. All these big corporations started hiring. Well, they bought the stations, and then they hired consultants to tell the stations what to play. And one day I came to work, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, and my boss was waiting, and I thought, something's not good here. I thought I was going to get fired. But he was there to walk me through the new playlist, which was this computerized spreadsheet of exactly what we needed to play and when we needed to play it. And it was back in the days where, I went from playing really weird, cool music to Styx and REO Speedwagon and, Van Halen and Foreigner and, really pretty commercial rock stuff, Bob Seger. And the funny thing is that stuff is all still being played on rock radio today. All that stuff that I did in like 1981 on the radio is still, if you listen to like The Bone here in San Francisco, they're playing all the exact same songs. Classic Led Zeppelin, Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who. And I stuck it out for like another year after the format change, and then they decided they could save money by automating the late night. And so I lost that job. I'm sorry, this is a really long answer to your question, but it gets there.
And it makes sense because you're like picturing like the background.
Yeah, and then I moved to Seattle. I had good friends that lived in Seattle, and every time I went and visited there, I was like, I could really live here. This place is cool. So I moved to Seattle, and I was looking in the yellow pages under records because I thought I'll get a job at a record store while I look for a real job. And I saw that Windham Hill Records, which was a label that I loved, was actually located in Seattle, and I didn't know that. Their first promotion office was in Seattle, and I called them up and I said, are you looking for help? And the guy who answered said, we're growing like crazy. We totally need help. Where are you? I want to come interview you now. It was literally like that. And we met at a gelato place across the street from my work and where I lived. And an hour later, I had a job, and I was there for 11 years. I started as the assistant to the head of promotion, publicity. And then they moved me to New York to be their East Coast regional sales and marketing manager. And all I ever wanted to do was A&R, which stands for artist and repertoire. So those are the people that sign bands and work in the studios and do the creative end of the business. And I just kept telling Will Ackerman, the guy who ran the creative end of the label, this is what I want to do. And I kept sending him things. This is, you should sign this guy. You should sign that guy. And finally he said, okay. And they moved me out to San Francisco. And I did A&R for them for quite some time. And then Windham Hill got sold to BMG back in the days when all the independent labels were selling out to majors. And the guy who was the VP of sales and marketing at Windham Hill and probably my best friend at the label was this guy, Pat Berry. And we were super like-minded. Marketing and salespeople don't usually get along with A&R people because they usually blame each other when records don't do well. The A&R guy goes, why couldn't you sell more of this record? And the sales guy says, why did you sign this piece of crap? But we were very like-minded, and we just saw eye to eye. And one day I just said to him, you know what, man? We're making the people that own this label a lot of money. How would you feel about doing something on our own. And at the time, it was the very early days of like the bands mixing electronica with world music. So it was like the days of Deep Forest and bands like that. And I was really interested in it in concept, but I thought, you know, it's all these like European white dudes taking ethnic samples from different parts of the world. Wouldn't it be more interesting if the people that actually lived in these places were making these kinds of fusions, and technology was just getting to the point where anybody could make a record. You know, it was the very early days of Pro Tools and being able to make records on your computer. And so we actively started looking and found like all this amazing stuff. You know, this guy in New York called Kirsch Calais, who was a young kid of Indian descent, who was mixing like drum and bass and electronica with Indian music. And then he said, hey, I know these guys in New Delhi, India, who are like the kings of, you know, Indian electronic fusion. And that was this band, the Medieval Pundits. So we're still working with you know, both of them to this day. We found this amazing African artist named Issa Bagayogo, you know, who mixed West African music with, he was collaborating with a French dance producer, and Bossa Cucanova, who were these three young guys from Rio who were taking, you know, classic bossa nova tunes and adding hip hop beats. And there was just an entire world out there. And honestly, nobody else was really putting it out. Yeah. You know, some European labels were starting to delve into it, but in America, nobody was doing it. And our first big record was Bebel Gilberto's first record, Tanto Tempo. Bebel Gilberto was the daughter of João Gilberto, who's, you know, one of the most famous musicians in the history of Brazilian music. And she did this record where she collaborated with Amon Tobin and, you know, this guy at Thievery Corporation, this guy Suba, who was an amazing electronic producer from Sarajevo. And it just blew people's minds. It changed the world. Yes, Suba passed away. It honestly changed the world. And it wound up selling 1 million records around the world. So we were kind of off and running after that.
Cool, yeah, I remember these records, Tanto Tempo, yeah, Bebel Gilberto.
What were you, like 12 when that record came out?
I discovered it later, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I discovered it later. But definitely, yeah, it was like an important piece of the down-tempo era.
Yeah.
And since then, you guys are still collaborating with some of the first artists, but also you sign other acts. And you also been searching from, the first song we listened to was this Tanzania Albinism Collective. So it's also like rare, and how do you find the music, for example, no?
Well, we find the music all different ways. How we found that record is quite a story. So we work with this amazing producer who's actually originally from here in San Francisco. His name is Ian Brennan. And his mission in life, God bless him, is to record voices of cultures and people that would otherwise not get exposed. So he's the guy that brought us our Zamba Prison Project record, which we got a Grammy nomination for, and 60 Minutes did a really big story about it, which they just repeated last week. And he came to us after Zamba, and he said, I got this other project that I really want to do with you guys. And, you know, if you have albinism in Africa, albinism is a genetic disease where your skin is white, even if you're of African descent. You can't handle direct sunlight. It's hard on your eyes. It has a range of effects. And if you have albinism, you have this very bad double whammy where on the one hand you're considered demonic, like people think you're a demon. You literally are cursed. But on the other hand, they believe that your body parts have magical healing properties. So these people are routinely murdered and mangled. Their limbs are cut off. It's just, you can't even believe it. And so there is an island off the coast of Tanzania, which is a sanctuary for people with albinism.
Oh, wow.
And this producer, Ian, and his wife, who is a documentary filmmaker, Marilena, went to the island, and much like they did with the Zamba Prison Project, they went to people who were not traditional musicians, and they just said, we want to do music workshops with you, and we want to record it, and we want you to just write a song and sing about your life. What is your life like? What has it been like to be born with this, you know, this, I hesitate to say disease, but I guess it's considered a defect, a disease. And they were terrified because their whole lives they haven't even been allowed to sing in church. They haven't been allowed to sing. They're shunned in society. But he eventually got them to write songs, and he brought a bunch of instruments for them, many of whom they'd never touched an instrument in their life. And that's what the record is. And honestly, it doesn't sound like anything else on the planet. And it's not often an easy listen, but it's incredibly powerful. And, there's a billion records out there of slick, very well, played African music. This is not one of them. This is like real life from a group of people that have been literally endangered. You talk about endangered species. These are humans that are an endangered species. And so that's where this record came from.
Cool, yeah. And you can like feel the road, the energy of it, no?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of records these days where you put it on and you're right, you can feel it. You can feel it's so real. And that's not for everybody, and that's fine, We've gotten rave reviews for the record, and then we've got reviews from the record from people saying like, what is this? They're singing off key and they can't really even play the instruments. Well, that's not the point,
Yeah.
It's really, really amazing, powerful, unique stuff. And if we can help bring some of that stuff into the world, it makes me a very happy man, especially in these crazy political times, where other cultures are often presented as something to be afraid of and feared and shut out of our country.
Yeah, you gotta give props to 6 Degrees for that, also for being like brave enough to have this character, no, like to get like to put out these records that are not conventional at all, and kind of
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, I'll tell you one other quick story. Right after 9/11 happened, we were about to put out, we had this series of records that were compilations of, music from different parts of the world. We had African travels, Latin travels, Asian travels, and we were just about to put out Arabian travels. And our distributor at the time said, I don't think you should do that. That's really not going to be, well received right after the terrorist attack. And we just said, that's crazy. Now more than ever, we should be doing that. We should be presenting positive representations of, that part of the world. Obviously, everybody that lives over there is not a terrorist. And, it's an incredibly rich culture. Part of the rich culture is the music. And that music has been incredibly influential for Western dance music. And that's what that record was all about. So we kind of insisted on it. And they were like, okay, it's your funeral. And it turned out to be one of our best-selling compilations ever, because in the wake of 9/11, people were fascinated and seeking out books and documentaries and music of Middle Eastern cultures. And, it's really hard to hate someone when you understand them, when you feel a connection with them, and nothing connects people more than music. So we were pretty adamant that we wanted to put that out, and I'm really glad we did. Plus, it's I think a really good record.
Yeah.
So
cool. And okay, let's reconnect with nowadays.
Yeah.
And with the release, let's play some music now.
Yeah. So this is a brand new record from. Obviously, we've done a lot of Brazilian records since we first started working with Bebel Gilberto. And this is a woman who used to sing in a band called Smoke City, which a lot of people consider the very first Brazilian band to successfully combine, electronica, trip-hop, down-tempo music with Brazilian music. They were called Smoke City, and the singer's name is Nina Miranda. And since then, she's gone on to sing in a lot of different bands, and she's kind of the singer of choice for a lot of producer artists. Like, she's sung with Basement Jaxx and Nitin Sawhney, and done a lot of stuff with Giles Peterson. And this is, shockingly, her very first solo record. It's called Freedom of Movement, and Nina is really wild. She's incredibly creative. Yeah, stick that in there so people can see it. And this song is my favorite song on the record. It's called Silken Horse, and a blog recently reviewed the record and said this song was a mix of Patti Smith and like a Brazilian shamanic mystical ceremony. And I thought that was a perfect description. So, That's what we're going to hear now.
We're going to hear now BFF.FM, 6 Degrees Records, 20 years showcase with Bob Duskis live. We're going to play Silken Horse, Nina Miranda here.
Já teve no Nordeste?
Só na minha fantasia. And he's coming on a silken horse. Coming on a silken horse. Come on, horse. Come on, silken horse.
Está chegando um cavalo de seda. Está chegando um cavalo de seda. Está chegando um cavalo de seda. Quando chegar, acaba a brincadeira. Quando chegar, acaba a brincadeira. Quando chegar, acaba a brincadeira.
When he gets here, the game begins.
On silken horse he will come. Silken horse he will come. Oh, boiadeiro. Boia, 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 boia.
Snakes in the crowd.
Oh, boiadeiro. Boia, 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 boia.
That's when the game begins. Wind on the
Calmo nos pés ao chão, as árvores dançando um balé. Lembra disso, estávamos na aparência, outra vida só pra voz. No instante em que a folha cai, eu devoro a paisagem.
Está chegando um cavalo de seda.
Will he carry gold? Scars of old. And by the fire. And the horse, he'll sleep and dream of all the places he has been.
Kaya project. This was 2003 out of Arabian Travels episode 2, but now it's. And this was Compass. It's a Mexican Institute of Sound meets Toy Selector, one of the latest release of the label, no?
Yeah, this is a recent one. So those guys are kind of like the two cutting-edge electronic modern producers coming out of Mexico. Camilo Lara, who calls himself Mexican Institute of Sound, and then Toy Select is like the guy who's been taking cumbia and taking it on to like modern dance floors, and he's been doing a lot of stuff with Diplo. You know, Diplo's become like Mr. Pop producer, and he's been doing stuff with like Justin Bieber and Beyonce and Ariana Grande and people like that, and Toy is like one of his secret weapon beat makers, you know, who goes in and helps him in the studio. And then these guys have been friends for a long time, and they wanted to get together and do something together, and they went to the people at Red Bull and proposed this idea that they would record in Red Bull studios all over the world and bring in guest artists from all over the world. So they did it in the UK, they did it obviously in the States, and in Mexico, and you know, it's a crazy collection of individuals on the record, but it's very cool. So that's they call it Compass.
Ah, that's why Compass. Okay.
Yeah. So that was Explotar, and we had a nice little thing with that. People ask us, well, how do you make money these days in these crazy times in the music business when nobody pays for music? And one of the ways one of the reasons we're still around is we do well licensing our stuff for films and TV shows and commercials. If you get lucky, commercials really pay good money. And in this case, that tune was used on the latest FIFA video game, which is an incredibly popular worldwide, you know, video soccer game. And excuse me, that tune was used on there. And
yeah, because, you know, like licensing is a big. I mean, I don't think you guys make money off streaming, but licensing definitely is.
Well, we make money off of streaming. It's micro pennies.
Yeah,
so the business these days, the record business used to be a few big piles of money that would come in, and now it's a lot of tiny piles of money that you hope come together and become at least a medium-sized pile. Yeah. So streaming is part of that.
Part of that, yeah. Say it's streaming.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really nice if you get a big TV license or a film or a trailer or something like that. That's because it's great exposure for the song and it's money.
Yeah.
So.
But also, you know, like besides the licensing, you guys are getting prizes. So you said the next tune we're gonna play is been nominated as a best remix.
Yeah, last year for the last Grammys, it was nominated for best remixed recording, which, you know, this is a weird project. This is a choir, an actual chorus out of Los Angeles. They call themselves the Silver Lake Chorus because they're from the Silver Lake neighborhood in LA, and they started out doing like choral versions of, you know, cool indie rock tunes. And then they came up with a better idea, which was to go to actual artists and ask them to write new songs specifically for choruses. And so, you know, Justin Vernon, who is Bon Iver, wrote them a song. Tegan and Sarah, a lot of big indie bands. And then we did a remix record from the original record. And in this case, it's a song called Heavy Star Movin', which was written by the Flaming Lips. And this Japanese electronica artist who calls himself Starro did the remix. And are you familiar with his stuff at all?
No.
So he is a really interesting up-and-comer. He mixes a lot of soul and R&B with kind of dreamy, jazzy electronica. And, I mean, we nominated it. We didn't we submitted it for the nomination process. In a million years, we didn't think we were going to actually get a nomination. It's a pretty super competitive category.
Yeah.
And we got nominated. We didn't win. We didn't think we were going to win, but it was a great honor. And it was the first time a Japanese artist had ever been nominated for an electronic Grammy. So it's kind of a big deal for Starro back in his home country. He was on all the big morning TV shows back in Tokyo, so that was really cool. And he went to the ceremony, and it was, it was a great thing for him, and it's great publicity for us. But yeah, let's check out the remix, because you'll hear it's not an easy thing to take a chorus, an a cappella choral arrangement of something, and do a remix of it and not have it sound really crappy or cheesy. And I think he did a really, really nice job.
I'm very curious to check it out.
Yeah.
There we go. Heavy Start Moving, Star Remix, BFF. And that was Heavy Start Moving from the Silver Lake project. The
Silver Lake Chorus. Oh, and you get the next
Yeah.
song.
And now we're going to go and play some
Kirsch Calais.
Kirsch Calais.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to introduce this record?
This is
first?
Kirsch
Sure.
has been with us for a very long time. He is an amazing musician. His parents came to New York from India, but he's American born, and he's played with a lot of amazing people, but also has a series of great records on his own. He was in, Tabla Beat Science. That was Bill Laswell's super group that he put together. Kirsch was the drummer.
That
in
was
that band.
great. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So this is his latest album called Up, and this is my favorite song on it. It's called Thin Line of Blue. It's just gorgeous textures, beautiful, traditional Indian music meets beautiful ambient electronica.
ഒരു നേരമെങ്കിലും കാണാതെ വയ്യന്നെ ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പാ നിൻ ദിവ്യരൂപം ഒരു നേരമെങ്കിലും കാണാതെ വയ്യന്റെ ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പാ നിൻ ദിവ്യരൂപം ഒരു നേരമെങ്കിലും കാണാതെ വയ്യന്റെ ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പാ നിൻ ദിവ്യരൂപം ഒരു മാത്രയെങ്കിലും കേൾക്കാതെ വയ്യാനിൻ മുരളി പൊഴിക്കുന്ന ഗാനാലാപം മുരളി പൊഴിക്കുന്ന ഗാനാലാപം
Hot Echo 20, request takeoff clearance. 20, you are cleared. Board TRA-22, flight level 260, maintain heading 350. Cleared for takeoff. Runway 01, QNH 3015.
Big ups to Lisa. She donated. Thank you for donating to BFF.fm. Big up, Lisa. Thank you so much.
encontrei na rua a questão, 100% a falta de chão. Vou rezar pra nunca perder essa estrutura que é você. Arranjo, 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 arranjo.
And we have the privilege to listen to something that is unreleased. This is like a 405 remix of Bebel Gilberto Agaju. Thank you, Bob, for bringing some rarities.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun to bring something that has never come out. I love this remix, and I play it out to this day when I DJ, and people always come up to me and go, "Whoa, what was that? Who is that?" For some reason, all these remixes came in, and Bebel Gilberto, who was the artist, ultimately got to pick, and she didn't pick this one. And Bebel was a strong-willed lady, and there was no convincing her. And to this day, it's never come out. It's Fort Knox 5, who are great.
Yeah.
And I love the sitar. It's the same sitar player that plays with Thievery Corporation that's on like Lebanese Blonde and all that thievery stuff that features sitar. And I don't know. I think it's a great mix. So you get to hear it here, exclusive.
Exclusive on Espresso Sesh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And you got some other exclusive stuff that you're gonna play.
Yeah, I brought a few things. We'll see.
A few
See what we have
things.
time for. Yeah.
Yes, if you have time for, time is always like the tyrant, no? Like,
Time is always the tyrant. That's nice. I like that.
You gotta go with it. All right. But let's play next to something that just came out. And
Yeah, this is the new one from Vieux Farcature, who we've also been working with for a long time. So Vieux is from Mali in West Africa, and he is the son of Ali Farcature, who is probably one of the most famous musicians to ever come out of Africa. He collaborated with a lot of Western musicians. He made a couple of records with Ry Cooder that were... I
was
think they-
also featured on a movie, like the blues from Mali to the Mississippi.
Yes, he's in that, and was voted by Rolling Stone, included in their 100 greatest guitar players of all time. So that's View's father. So those are some pretty big shoes to, decide you want to follow in as a musician. But he's kind of gone his own way. He brings more rock. His dad was more blues and acoustic based. They call Vieux, whether you believe it or not, the Hendrix of the Sahara, and that's because he's a little more into rock and electric guitar. And he is just an unbelievable player, and I've watched, and that's the amazing thing about my job. We've been working with him for a lot of years, and to just watch him grow. He was always great, but now the last time he came to town and he played over at Yoshi's, my jaw was just hanging on the floor most of the night. He's just blossomed into a real amazing original talent on his own. And this new album, which is called Samba, not samba like Brazilian music samba, Samba in the native Malian dialect that View speaks means the second born son, which in his tradition is actually more of the privileged inheritor of the family than the first son for whatever reason. So View is the Samba in his family, and he's carried on the musical tradition. And this was recorded in a really interesting way. It was part of a thing called the Woodstock Sessions. There's a great studio up in Woodstock, New York called Applehead Studios, and they do this thing where they make albums in the studio, but they invite an audience who come and pay money. They have dinner with the artist. They get to hang with the artists and the musicians, and then they have to sit quietly, and they're there. They witness the record being recorded. So you get all the best part of an actual studio recording, but you get the energy of playing in front of an audience, and that's how this thing was recorded. So it's pretty interesting fusion of things.
Cool. I love this that you always have like so many stories. I mean, it should be like being in the business for that long, but and it's nice. I mean, also to go like behind the scene about each record because you know the story, like how this was made.
Man, I got to tell you, every record's got at least a lot of stories.
Lots of stuff.
And it's so fascinating for me when old records come on, you know, like records that were recorded like 19 years ago, and I'll be in like Whole Foods or something and it'll come on, you know, or and I'm immediately flooded back with some kind of memory
Memories.
of where I was, you know, I was in this. Look, it's a privilege to be around artists when they create music.
Yeah,
you know,
it is,
I'm not going to,
yeah.
it's just an amazing, amazing thing to be a part of. There's a lot of really hard things about working in the music business these days, but they're made up for at least partially by this experience of being around these amazing, talented people and helping them bring this music into the world. And so, yeah, I've been privileged to be part of a lot of amazing stuff, and there's always a lot of stories. Some of them we can tell on the radio, some of them we can't.
Probably we need more time to do that. Like,
Well, and some of them you just can't share. But
yeah.
but anyway, yeah, this is brand new, and it's I think it's great. So this tune we're going to play is unusual for View because it's first of all it's all acoustic, and it's instrumental. He usually sings on his tracks, but I love it. You can really hear his guitar chops on this.
And we listen to it right now. And on the notes of Vieux Farca Touré, Samba as the second child, the second born. This is the opening track of his latest album on 6 Degrees Records.
Yes, sir.
Keeping the catalog like beautiful and eclectic.
We're trying. You know, there's so much good music in the world. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things broken in the music business, but the amount of like amazing music from all over the planet is not one of them.
No, yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, one of the hardest things in the job is saying no to some things. You can't put out everything, you know.
Yeah.
And there's some things where we just have to say, you know what, we'll stay fans. We don't necessarily have to get involved on a business level. Yeah, I'm really encouraged by the level of just great stuff. And from everything, from, you know, super weird electronic stuff to acoustic, rootsy stuff, and everything in between. It's a never-ending tide of beautiful music that comes through the door, which is great.
While we were off the air, we were like chatting about them. It's hard to keep up with all the releases. But you know, we gotta say that you've been doing a great job promoting, like selecting music and doing like a radio show. There was on Mixcloud, 6 Degrees Traveler, for like 10 years or something. No?
Yeah, longer actually. Well, we started out. We were on iTunes Radio before iTunes started their own iTunes Radio, and they didn't carry other stations. We were first on live365.com, and then iTunes picked it up, and then we put it on Mixcloud and for SoundCloud for a while. And I mean, as I told you earlier, I started in radio, so it's a great passion of mine, and I like to keep the spirit of freeform radio. And we took a break. I did it for so long, I just kind of burned out on it. It's hard to keep it fresh and keep it, you know, artful.
Yeah.
But we'll come back in September. We're going to start it again,
Cool.
so I'm excited. But there's a bunch of shows archived if you want to check it out at www.mixcloud.com/6 Degrees Records. I encourage you. It goes pretty far in different categories. Like it's pretty eclectic. I guess is what I'm saying.
It's pretty eclectic, and it's very interesting. Yeah. Like I remember finding out true gems. Yeah. In even like of obscure remixes and stuff like that. So actually, you can just Google 6 Degrees Traveler.
Yeah, that's the name of the show, 6 Degrees Traveler. But I mean, honestly, today I got an email from someone today. The show hasn't been on for like 2 years, saying, "When are you going to do the radio show again? It meant so much to me. It got me through some really hard times in my life, and you know, when is it coming back?" So, we had a really nice community, and the great thing about internet radio is you got fans all over the world. Yeah. You know, I used to have super fans writing me from Tokyo and Israel, and it was pretty nice. So I'm looking forward to bringing it back.
Cool. So this is an official announcement. It's
oh
gonna
yeah,
be back in September.
You're getting the scoop.
Okay, cool. And it's glad to have, because you are a very such a radio person. No, like your voice, like your music knowledge. Like your stories, your experience. So it's great to have you here. Like on Espresso Sesh.
Very nice of you to say.
I wish we could say more, like the whole day on the radio, like playing music.
One day we'll take over the entire station.
Yeah, we do like a day with 6 Degrees. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I brought you something else new, and another scoop for you. This is a band that is 4 women from 4 different countries called La Dama.
La Dama, okay.
La Dama, and it's there are people from the U.S., from Colombia, from Venezuela, and from Brazil. And they're all total badass musicians. They play all different percussion and string instruments, and they all have amazing voices. And we're going to put their first album out in October of this year. So this is the first track from the record, and you're getting another scoop here, baby.
Cool. Also, La Dama means the lady in Italian.
Yeah.
So, I think it makes sense to have this scoop. All right, so just check it out. Yeah. So, La Dama, Porro Maracatu, BFF.fm.
Ponte ya a bailar que este ritmo está bien candente. De Bogotá hasta Recife,
Yes, here we are, Espresso Sesh, episode 78 with Bob Duskis.
78, huh?
78, yeah, 78.
Okay.
Yeah, 1.5 year, you know, like,
Lucky
and,
78.
and counting,
Yeah.
and counting.
Okay.
That's a good thing, and counting. All right, so there was La Dama. It's an upcoming release.
Yeah, coming in October.
October, 6 degrees. I think time is
special scoop for you.
time. Thank you for that. Thank you. We get a couple of unreleased and upcoming tunes.
Only for you.
Only for. Thank you for honor and your listeners of Espresso Sesh listeners. Thank you for your donation. You can donate anytime for support the station, and also these donations are deductible from your taxes next year. So keep the receipt and take it out of your taxes next year, and
help keep good radio like this alive.
Yeah, keep
because it's not that many places where you can hear this kind of stuff all the time. So,
yeah, it's very important to have like this for the community, for the music itself. I know.
Absolutely.
Cool. It's almost time to wrap up the show, but tell us what to expect from 6 Degrees in the next months. You have some shows, big shows you were mentioning.
Yeah,
before.
we signed Brazilian Girls that are great band who've been around for a while. They broke up and now they're back together and they made a monstrously great record. I think the best record they've ever done. That's coming out early next year, and they're going to be at Stern Grove in August. And that's free. Everybody should go check that out. And what can you expect? We'll be doing some things to celebrate our 20th anniversary. We'll have some events, so we'll announce that. Always check us out on Facebook at 6 Degrees Records, on Twitter, on our website, www.6degreesrecords.com. We always spell it out, S-I-X. We don't use the number 6. So that's how you find us, and that's how you can keep up with what we're doing. And, man, I'm just trying to, in light of, I don't want to get all political with, not a lot of time left, but it's so crazy out there right now, and this sort of move towards, anti-immigrant sentiment, and these wacky people that are running our government right now, trying to turn people against each other. I've never felt more passionate about our mission as a label, which is to put out great music from all over the world, regardless of where it's from, and to celebrate both the things that connect us, that we have in common, because let's face it, we all have so many things in common, no matter where we're from. We all just want to live happy lives, and we have our family and our loved ones, and but we have a lot of differences too, and those are to be celebrated too. And as I said earlier, nothing connects us quite the way music does. So, and I've seen it, man. I've seen people in the studio come together from cultures that traditionally have all kinds of beef, and they sit down and they start making music together, and it just disappears immediately. And so I always kind of felt like this was important, what we do, and I feel it more than I ever did. So, and there have been some tough times along the way in 20 years. The business has really kicked us in the butt a lot of times. But recently I've got that fire in the belly back, man, we need to be doing this. The records like the Zamba Prison Project and the Tanzania Albinism Collective, and just all this stuff. So if people keep having open ears and want to stretch themselves and hear this music from different cultures, I think they're going to find that they're the better. Their life is going to be the better for it.
Yeah, I bet so. And it's very noble of you guys doing this, and it's very important of you guys keep doing this, because you have after this year you have the authority and the knowledge and the authority to put out great stuff.
We're trying. We're trying to hang in there. So, and the best thing people can do is to support it however you can. Go see the shows, pay money, for music, even if it's like your $14 a month Spotify subscription. At least it's something. In order for people to make music like this, they need to be supported some way, shape, or form. And in order for labels like us to continue, it's the same thing. So. If it's important to you, then that's how you can support it.
Yeah. thanks 6 degrees.
I didn't mean to get all heavy on you
No,
at the
no,
end
it's
there.
not. It's not heavy. Actually, it's very important. We always say to support and buy music. I do. I buy music. I buy music. You know, like I get music for free as well
Yeah.
from promotion, but also
That's
buy,
fine, man. You know, but
yeah, it's I buy ticket for shows. You know, it's
we're look. Let's just say this: we're living in a world now where if something's important to you, you know, whether it's a great little restaurant in your neighborhood or whether it's that cool little bookstore that you know is hanging in there despite the odds of the gentrification of the neighborhood, or an artist or a record label, you know, if you don't support it, no one else is going to do it. So that stuff just goes away. If people take it for granted, it goes away. And those of us who've lived in San Francisco a long time,
we are seeing.
man, we've seen it happen. So
Yeah,
it's
and
not like an
it's happened-
abstract concept. If
Yeah.
you don't support it, it goes away. So if this stuff is important to you and the variety and the diversity of it makes your life better, there's only one way to guarantee it stays around, and that's to support it.
Yeah,
Not just with lip service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
that.
man. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, support the 6 degrees. Yes, resist,
Resist, stay woke.
and let's please bring to our attention more great stuff you
Yeah,
are
we're
already
gonna try.
doing.
Yeah.
Let's close this show with probably this is the most successful artist you guys.
This is a wonderful artist from Brazil, from Sao Paulo, named Seu, C-E-U. And this year she won the Latin Grammy for Best Brazilian Popular Recording with this album. And she won the Latin Grammy for Best Recorded Engineered Album for everything, not just Brazilian, for everything in the Latin Grammy. So it's kind of a big deal. And she's amazing. She mixes hip-hop and dub and electronica and rock with, you know, Brazilian music. And this is her latest album, Tropics. And it's great. Great stuff.
All right. Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Listeners, thank you for listening us. BFF.fm, we're going to be next week, same station, same time, 2 to 4 p.m. with a special guest that I'm not going to announce now.
Oh,
but
it's that special.
Yeah, no, it's like this. This is how it works here. Yeah,
It's a surprise.
Yeah, a surprise. You're going to know like half an hour before what's going on. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so let's Arrestarte L is the second track of the album called Tropics by Seu, and we're gonna listen to this. And thank you so much for listening. Support 6 Degrees Record, support independent, great stuff with identity and courage. No courage to to go off the beaten path and pull out something that has a meaning, has a value that is not just commercial value, but it's All right. I'm not going to preach anything here. All right.
Play the music.
Play the music. Let the music speak for itself.
There you go. And this does.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.